All right, hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Today's video, we're going to be doing a little bike repair on a YETI SB130 full suspension carbon mountain bike. Customer had called me a week ago about this bike and just said he had some brake issues, so I actually hadn't seen the bike prior to making this video. So before I do get started with dealing with the brakes, I'm just gonna do like a little check over on it, see what's going on. Got some loose chain there for sure we're gonna have to deal with, see what's going on with that. Just gonna check the wheels real quick, just to make sure everything's straight. And then, yep, that's the bad brake right there. And then as you can see, there's a little bit of dirt on there from the oil leaking out. Looks like that rear brake has been heavily used quite a bit. So we'll need to flush it, clean it all up. And then, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of clean everything off a little bit here, just so I can examine the bike a little bit better, just check over. He didn't really complain about too many other things other than just the rear brake and actually the shifting as well. So we'll get that in it. And then, yeah, as you can see here, you got some oil leaking out of that left seal there, which is means you need to service that rear shock. Won't be doing it in this video, but I will let the customer know that he's gonna need to service the suspension soon. All right, now I'm just gonna give the bike a little wipe down here. This always helps for me, especially when I'm kind of looking over the bike. I like to just clean it a little bit. Helps me to spot things easier if there's something broken or cracked, or just feel the bike, get a feel for it. And then this is the main cause right here of the bad shifting. We got a busted housing. Looks like it just kind of blew up there. So nothing too crazy. All right, now we're gonna start with the bike repair itself. We're gonna go ahead and bleed both the brakes. Obviously first, we're gonna remove both the wheels here, get those off. And before I set this wheel, I'm gonna just set this wheel aside. I'm gonna go ahead and just check the rotor here. Just check the rotor thickness just to see how much wear is on that rotor. Looks like it was fine. And then I'll do the exact same thing to the front one, just checking the rotor wear, just making sure it's still good, still nice and thick. Usually you can feel it if it's pretty worn out. You can measure it with the micrometer as well. All right, now we're gonna remove the pads and kind of take a look at those. Pads on the rear here, not too bad, so we're just gonna go ahead and reuse those. They actually got probably quite a bit of life left on them, and pads right now are really hard to get, so we're gonna try to get the most out of those as possible. But I will let him know, how much remaining pad life he does have left. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and remove the brake lever so we can get behind it and clean it. There's a lot of brake oil, a lot of brake oil behind there that leaked out just from overusing the rear brake. A lot of customers in my area like to ride up a hill or mountain called Skyline. So it's a pretty steep climb, and then it's a pretty steep descent. So so I get people with bad rear brakes all the time because they're just like pretty much dragging the brakes all the way down the hill. This is not the only person I get in here with overheated rear brakes. All right, now we're gonna pop on the bleed cup here. We're gonna put a little bit of oil in the top there. And now we're gonna start the process of cleaning the pistons. So we're gonna get our little mini flathead screwdriver here that I got from an estate sale. Nothing fancy. All right, I have nothing against fancy tools. I'm just a cheapo sometimes. All right, and we're gonna push those pistons out. And now we're just gonna kind of gently clean them to just get any grease off, dirt, things like that. Get them back to as new looking as possible. I did notice, however, one of the pistons was favoring one side. So as you see, that left piston there likes to push out and the right piston doesn't. So once I got that one clean, I'm actually gonna now hold that left, push that one back in, the left piston, push it back in, and then hold it and then push out the right piston to get it to move freely. And then I'm gonna go ahead and clean that one now. So once we get it all bled, then we'll need to reset and make sure everything's centered correctly, because it looks like one piston is favoring one side, which is very common and that can cause brake rub and uneven pad wear. So now that we got everything clean, we're gonna go ahead and pump in some fresh Shimano mineral oil there. All right, now I'm just gonna push all the bubbles out. Perfect. Pop that on the little bleed screw there. And we're just gonna push it in, and then as you can see, yep, oil is super dirty. So that's not good. Definitely wanna clean your oil. Definitely wanna have clean oil in there so everything can work properly. All right, so now we're just gonna suck out the bad oil and put it in my little bad oil container. And we're just gonna clean out the syringe real quick, just so there's no bad oil in it. And then we're gonna just fill it up a little bit, by halfway, and then we're gonna push that through. All right, perfect. Now we got fresh oil in there. Now we just need to kind of clean everything off and then suck out the old oil there and put it in the bad container there. Now we're just gonna go ahead and pump this with the bleed block inside, just to see if we can get any air bubbles out. Just gonna rock it back and forth, tapping the lever. Pretty straightforward. All right, now that's good. We're gonna go ahead and clean it, take the bleed block out, clean it. We're gonna clean up that bleed screw. Remember, it's always important to clean that out because oil can get trapped in there and then it can leak out and get onto the pads. So you always wanna clean that out as best as possible, especially because you don't want dirt to get in there as well. Dirt is bad. All right, now we're gonna put the little bleed screw rubber cap over that, put the pads back in, and now, well, we'll get the little pad bolt here with the safety clip. So we'll put that back in. Boom, make sure we put that in, that's important, we don't forget that. And then I'm just gonna loosen up the brake so we can kind of move freely once I reset the pads. And then we're gonna go ahead and put the wheel in. Before I put the wheel in, I always do this. Anytime I take a wheel off, I just always check to see if the cassette is tight. That's just like a thing I do. And then check the hub as well, see if it's loose. I did notice, however, that this rear axle, it was super dry. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean it. It's got kind of like a powder on it, which is kind of basically it's just been washed and from water drying out, deposits, things like that. So make sure you want to grease those things. Keep your axles greased because, man, sometimes they get stuck on there and it's really scary trying to get them off. I've had to use breaker bars before to get people's rear axles off because they're so dry. All right, now that we got that in there, we're going to go ahead and reset the pads. And we're just going to pump that. I'm going to actually take it off the stand and put it upright to try to get all the bubbles from the bottom to come up. And I'm just going to pump it and then turn the handle, make sure there's no bubbles trapped in the master cylinder. And now that that's good, we're going to check the pistons. And after checking them, I noticed that that left piston was pushing out more. So I got to actually take the caliper off now and reset that. You can see right there, it's exposing like way more piston on the left side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, with the bleed cup still in, I'm going to push that back out. You don't want to push those pistons out with the bleed port on the master cylinder not open, because sometimes it can push oil out the lever and that's not good. So make sure you got a bleed cup or something in. All right, so we're going to push that out, and then once we get it pushed back in, what I'm going to do now is pump the lever while I'm holding that left piston so the right one can actually move freely. So once they look like they're moving evenly, then I'll put them back on the rotor, then pump it a little bit, make sure that they're moving freely, check them, yep, pull it off, yep, now they're moving freely. So everything looks a lot better now. So now we'll get a better adjustment when it comes to aligning the actual caliper. All right, cool. Once we get it aligned, we'll just snug it up, make sure everything's tight. And boom. All right, cool. Just spin it around, make sure it's not rubbing. Pump it a couple times. All right, now we're gonna uncork the bleed cup there and put the screw back in. Just wipe that off real quick so it doesn't spill. And realign the brake lever with the shifter. All right, let's just tighten that up a little bit. Perfect. Now we're going to start with the shifter now. We're just yanking the cable out. We got to take the shifter off anytime we replace a cable on a SRAM system. We actually have to open it up and pull the cable out. That's just how they design it. Now, the housing runs internal, so I'm actually going to run a cable through the other side. So when I pull the housing out, there's a cable inside that can help guide the housing. I believe these frames have like a built-in guide on the inside, so you actually don't need to do that, but I just do it anyways, just in case I'm wrong. I don't work on these every day, so I don't know if there is a guide inside there, so I just want to make sure. And now this cable, this housing is stuck. I think it's really dirty inside. So, and in hindsight, I should have just cut right by the linkage and then pulled each piece. So I actually had to put my knee on the head tube to pull on this thing, and it was so tight. As you can see, I'm struggling here to get this thing out. And then boom, it kind of pops right there.
Works.
Basically, the housing that runs inside the frame, it has like it's a little carbon tube inside that the housing runs through, and there's like dirt and like water and dried up water deposit. You can see how it's like all white, so it's going to be really hard getting it out. But like I said, I should have cut it right there in hindsight. I should just cut it right there and then pulled one side and pulled the other side. But I didn't. I did it the hard way. So once it started to move, I had to kind of wiggle that spot and then keep pulling the housing. And here it comes, slowly but surely. It's coming out, it's coming out. And then I want to make sure I don't let that housing run through. Almost did. Right there, boom, got it. So we'll keep that cable inside, so when I run the housing through, it'll have like a little guide. But again, on this frame, you don't actually need to do that. I just do it as a precaution. So now we're gonna measure up the old housing, and we're gonna cut it. We're also gonna add about a few inches there, just in case we need the extra. And we'll just toss that up, miss the trash can again. All right. I think I make my trash can shots, I think it's like, what, 2 out of 10 times? Not very good. All right, I'm gonna grease this, as you can see, and that's gonna help slide through the inside. And hopefully next time, whether it's me or somebody else, when they pull the housing out, it won't be so hard. So now I'm gonna run that into the cable, and we're gonna push it through the frame. This frame is having this guide in here like that makes it really easy. Now this is the only time using this cable here running through to kind of get it to guide it out the hole. So I did have to use it a little bit, so it did come in handy. You could use like a small pick to try to guide it out, but having that internal routed cable kind of little tunneled in there that they put inside is really nice. It goes to show you, when you buy a good brand bike, they actually make a good bike. I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's a good bike for sure. It's worth the money. I like it when they do stuff like that. That means they're really thinking. All right, now we're just gonna put the new cable back into the shifter here. And like I said, you gotta open up the shifter, take the lid off. Now we're gonna put the lid back on, screw it on. On Shimano shifters, you don't have to do this. You just there's a little screw you pop out and then you push it through. I don't really mind taking the lid off. I think it's pretty cool. It actually lets you look inside the shifter too, so that way maybe if it needs a little grease in there, if it's dry or dirty. All right, now we got the housing all set. I'm gonna put the end caps on. And notice I did put a little bit of grease on the end of that, just for weatherproofing. You can use like weatherproof cable tips, things like that too, that have like a little seal on them. but I like to just put a little grease in there just to help. Now I'm going to run the cable through the housing. All right. Everything's going really smooth. No issues here. So I'm going to run this through the derailleur pulley guide thing, whatever you want to call it. Release the clutch there, and then I can tighten up the cable. Perfect. All right, not too tight. Most of these derailleurs are made of plastic, so you gotta be really careful. I'm not a big fan of SRAM derailleurs, but they work. All right, now dealing with the chain sag. It was basically just a B-screw adjustment. I did take off the chain, but I didn't put it in the video because I wanted to see if the chain was like a new chain that somebody else put on. Maybe they put it on too long, but the chain was actually sized correctly. It was just a B-screw. I don't know how that happened. Sometimes customers work on their own bikes and they do weird things, but it looked like the B-screw just got backed off a little bit, so the chain was sagging when it was in the smallest cog in there. So now I'm gonna just tune the shifting here, make sure everything is solid, stretch out the cable as much as possible. Everything looks good. Once that's good, I'm gonna take it off and then pedal it around, make sure everything shifts good. So yeah, if you like this video, please leave a like. Thanks for watching it if you made it to this point. Subscribe. I'm gonna try to put out more videos every couple weeks. It's been pretty busy at the shop with Christmas, so it's hard for me to make all this content and put it out every 2 weeks, but I'm gonna try my best. I got some more videos coming up. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, please like the video, and I'll see you later.